Hello, you beautiful people. Welcome to day 2 of E3. Lewis is still in Copenhagen. I'm still here in the UK. We're going to be doing reactions to some stuff later tonight, but I'm afraid you're stuck with me for Square Enix. And Square Enix, you came here so positive, and you tried so hard. And what are you doing? You know how we're going to go through this. We go through every conference exactly the same chronologically, so we'll start with the very first announcement and end with the very last announcement, or the lack of a very last announcement, as is probably the case here. Quick note, this isn't going to be a long one, so if you like what you hear here, we're doing reactions to every E3 conference within an hour of them finishing. We'll have a full podcast recorded for you and up on the channel, unless Sony this evening blow us out the water again with another 2015, but I'm going to say I doubt it. Let's start working through Square Enix. Firstly, we got an opening with Tomb Raider. We got a full demo, which was a little bit narrated over by one of the devs. It played on its own. It wasn't technically narrated over, but we got a bit of more sort of in-depth talk from one of the devs. It has this, we got to see the combat, really. It has a very stealth focus in this demo. I don't want to say a big stealth focus in this game, because I get the feeling it's one of those kind of play it how you want to stealth or go sort of run and gun style. But the stealth stuff seems to have been sort of really focused on and really improved. There were some lovely sort of creeping mechanics. There were some lovely sort of calling people in mechanics. And I know you've always had the throw a stone or a bottle to get their attention, but it seemed a little bit more organic this time. I will say they introduced the demo by saying Lara, sorry for the yawns, Lara has to work with stuff she finds in the jungle, and then proceeded to show her finding gas cans and bottles in the jungle, which is definitely not anything you'd find in a jungle, so that was a bit odd. The one thing I really liked was there was a cool new cover mechanic where she could press herself against a wall and blend in with the foliage and stuff. And one of the things that Crystal Dynamics have nailed every time is landscapes and foliage and forests, and generally making a place look very either verdant or lifeless or very kind of realistic and believable. Sorry again for the yawns. We don't have time to edit this. And we were up at 5. I've then done a job interview today, and now we're doing this. It's busy. But yeah, the cover mechanic looked really cool. It was a fine demo. It for sure looked like a Tomb Raider game. If you've played a Tomb Raider game, you know exactly what you're getting into with this. There wasn't a huge amount of more information. There was some in terms of the sort of fine details of the cover and this, that, the other. Nothing blow your socks off, though. A fine demo, a solid demo for sure. Then we got Final Fantasy XIV. There was a lot of discussion about that. There was some details of a new update called Stormblood, I believe, which showed off a bit more kind of campaign, a bit more. There were a few more cutscenes. There were some nice character moments. Then I think the real big surprise of the conference was the Monster Hunter Cross Final Fantasy XIV Online announcement. It seems to be they're bringing some characters and some of the elements of Monster Hunter into Final Fantasy XIV, so don't expect a full Monster Hunter game, but do expect some of the stuff that makes Monster Hunter good, and do expect some of the more kind of Final Fantasy-esque characters, perhaps Final Fantasy-esque sort of personalities to show up in the game. I think that's fair to say. Apparently that's coming in summer 2018. No exact release date, but it probably isn't far away. And to be honest, I can imagine that launches fairly solidly when it comes out. Next, there was a lovely little talk from Don't Nod Entertainment about Captain Spirit. His game is coming out later this month and is apparently 100% free, which I think is awesome. I can't imagine this is going to be very long. The devs talked quite a lot about it being an introduction to the world of Life is Strange 2, which is very much their way of saying, look, Life is Strange 2 is not going to focus on the two characters you know. It's going to be a new thing. It's going to be a different thing. You're probably not expecting it. So I imagine they've put this out as a sort of teaser. You'll get a lovely kind of way for them to expand their storytelling a bit with... Sorry. God damn it. With Captain Spirit and his sort of world-making gameplay. And then... that I imagine will sort of introduce you to the characters that will play the big main roles in Life is Strange 2. I also kind of feel like Life is Strange 2 is probably on the horizon to be announced. Maybe it's announced at the end of Captain Spirit, because it feels odd. Like they were very, very clear in saying, "Hey, we're making that game, and this is the prelude to it. This is the stuff that kind of sets you on the path to it." But there was no discussion of what it is or when we see it. So it seems odd to say, "Hey, look, there's this kind of almost prologue to the game, but with no details of the game." So keep your eyes peeled for that. The next thing up was Dragon Quest, which looked beautiful. It looked absolutely beautiful, actually, I have to say. I've never watched a Dragon Quest trailer before and thought, oh, wow, that looks nice. But there was something about its really bright, vibrant, lively aesthetic that caught me this time. Unfortunately, tough shit for me, because it's on PC and PS4, which is kind of expected. I'll be honest, I expected a Switch announcement here. I don't think any Dragon Quest games have come to the Xbox One, though it would be nice, especially with Xbox seeming to have a stronger partnership with Square this year round. We'll talk about that in a bit. The next announcement was very exciting at first. Anyway, very exciting for people without an Xbox. Babylon's Fall is a super Japanese-looking action game. There was quite a Dark Souls seemingly Dark Souls influenced aesthetic. There was a very heavy looking armor clad Japanese warrior, almost in a dark, dingy, I don't know, location. I guess dark, dingy aesthetic. I can't really explain it more than that. It was a fairly generic aesthetic behind the interesting character. And there were some cool little action mechanics, and it's called, whatever it is called Babylon's Fall, and it's out next year. Developed by Platinum. That's very exciting. Nice to see what Platinum has on the horizon on top of Bayonetta. I think we might see one more Platinum announcement this E3. Got that feeling in my brain, mind thing. But as I said, not exciting if you're an Xbox person, because it's coming to PC and PS4. So that's a little disappointing. Especially as like Platinum very rarely launch console exclusives unless it's at console exclusive conferences. Like Scalebound a couple of years ago, Nintendo with Bayonetta. But to see Square Enix publishing a Platinum game but only for certain platforms is kind of a shame. Exclusivity sucks. So then we got another trailer for Nier Automata, the Become As Gods edition, which has a bunch of the DLC that came out with the game and is out later this month. That's cool. We kind of got it leaked about a month ago, but to know that it's out in a couple of weeks' time and has all that content in and is coming to the Xbox One and being given that support, that's a really nice thing. Then we got the trailer for Octopath Traveler. It's out in a month. It's out mid-July, and it still has the worst title in video games. I don't know how they haven't renamed Octopath Traveler to something a little less Octopath Traveler-y, I guess. But yeah, looks great, looks really interesting, nice 2.5D pixel art JRPG, almost quite sort of original Final Fantasy-ish, but yeah, it's still got that title, and yeah, as we know, it's a Switch exclusive, which was confirmed last year, but no word on other platforms, so that is still the case. Next up, we got Just Cause 4. This did a much better job of explaining what Just Cause is and why you should be excited about it than Xbox. The trailer actually looked like a big step up for the franchise. There was some finer details shown off. The world seems to have a bit more depth to it. The NPCs seem to have a bit more depth to it. Sorry, here comes a yawn. Fuck. Horribly unprofessional. The world seems to have a bit more depth to it. The NPCs seem to have a bit more depth to it. The word intelligent was used a lot, so the antagonists are going to be a lot more intelligent when you come up against them. The world and the physics is a lot more intelligent, and the way that you control the player and the character is a lot more intelligent. Seems like this is a kind of under the hood ambitious step up. The bit that gets me that's very exciting about this is they confirmed it's using a new engine, which is a very good thing, because they talked a lot about the technicalities of the game and how it's going to have a bigger map and a bigger draw distance, which immediately threw up red flags because Just Cause 3 was known for being a technical fuck-up. But if they're using a new engine and putting the kind of time and resources into it that they seem to be, maybe this could actually be a bit of a good game. So Just Cause has actually kind of saved its skin in my book a little bit there. Well done, Just Cause. Then we got the announcement of a new game called The Quiet Man. It started with a live-action trailer showing a person walking into an alley in America. Here comes the yawn. Damn it. Into an alley in America and handing a beatdown to some generic thugs in said alley. The interesting thing in this game is that the protagonist is deaf. He kind of signaled that he can't hear people, and then he kicked somebody who kicked people's ass, and then the game was revealed to be called The Quiet Man. No real detail, anything on what it is other than that. It was confirmed to be PC and PS4 again, which is a real shame, I think. And I would have liked to know something more about what this game is than just it's a deaf guy who beats people up. But it's still cool. You don't really see deaf protagonists in games a lot, and actually there's a lot of ways they could explore that concept. We kind of saw it looked at with like the Daredevil game that never got made from years ago, but would have liked to see more. It was a nice trailer. Just a nice trailer, though. And Kingdom Hearts 3 was the big final moment that they ended on. We saw exactly the same trailer as at the Xbox One conference. It still looks pretty odd. It's still the dubbing still doesn't quite work, and it's still a super Japanesey trailer. But the game is out on January the 29th, and as good as it looked at Xbox, it still looked really good here. So if you're a Kingdom Hearts fan, or you are a fan of the new worlds that they're adding to it, Wreck-It Ralph, Rapunzel, Frozen, I think I might have spotted Ratatouille in there, then this certainly seems like a good point to sort of pick this game up. How well you'll fit into the Kingdom Hearts narrative and stuff that's going on, I couldn't tell you, but I'm kind of excited for it, and I've never said that about a Kingdom Hearts game before. That being said, this conference, I feel, will be more defined by its absence of things than what it actually showed. Now, there could be two reasons for this. Of course, we were expecting to see a mention of either the Avengers project or a mention of the Final Fantasy VII remake. Now, there's one consideration, there's one thing to be considered, that this could be because they're on Sony's stage tonight. And actually, having watched the conference and how much support they're giving the PlayStation 4, I kind of wouldn't be surprised by that. Although, with Sony focusing so heavily on their first party to give Square Enix enough time on their stage, not for one announcement, but two, I don't know, maybe we see Final Fantasy and not the Avengers, or vice versa. That being said, we were expecting to see something from them here, and we definitely didn't. Also, another odd thing, I find it so very awkward that Xbox made such a thing about Square Enix, because that was a big thing. Like, Square Enix have not been on an Xbox stage properly in a while. The last big Square Enix project that you got on the Xbox stage was Rise of the Tomb Raider, and the reason was because they bought it from Square Enix for a year. Like, that was a big thing yesterday, and this kind of seemed a bit to undo that. That was crap. To undo a bit of that goodwill for me. I feel like there were three announcements of, hey, are things coming to Xbox? And the rest of the time it was like, nope, this is straight down the line, PlayStation 4, and in fact, not even as much Nintendo as I expected to see. I feel like Square Enix kept their cards to their chest a little bit last night, and I didn't feel like that when we saw the Xbox conference. So that's kind of a shame to me. This conference was solid. It was a solid Square Enix conference. It revealed stuff we didn't know. It showed good deep dives into games that look very exciting and are out in the next year. Although it's a solid conference in a year where we were really expecting a mind-blowing conference. And so far, it seems like Xbox have been the only ones that can deliver a really, really solid conference in a year where we were expecting really, really solid conferences. So Square Enix was totally fine, totally interesting, though I think it will be defined more by what it didn't show than what it did. That, ladies and gentlemen, is our reactions to Square Enix at E3 2018. If you like what you heard here, we're doing reactions to every one of these conferences, and they will be live within an hour of the conference finishing. That's right, you get a full podcast less than an hour after the conference finishes. I'd say that's fairly good. If you want to make sure you don't miss any of that, you could subscribe to us right here on YouTube and follow the E3 2018 playlist that we've got set up. Alternatively, you can go to our 3E3. That's a bad joke. The playlist is called Every E3 Ever. There's 3 E's. Playlist, and see all of the E3 reactions we've ever done to every press conference that's happened since 2015. Until next time, and next time being Ubisoft in a few hours, thank you very much. Find us on all the channels, YouTube, iTunes, Facebook, Twitter, at GamesUpcast on all of them, and we will see you in a few hours' time. Until then... Oh, also, Yoyin Denton, who gave us all the predictions for Square Enix, just sent me a message to say, boy, that was shit. Yeah, you're not wrong, Yoyin. It was solid, just a solid shit. That came out totally wrong. And see you in a few hours. The game's up.